Oh, you know what's coming. Oh, yeah. You know you can't stop it. I'm going to talk my shit now. I said, I'm going to talk my shit now. You know you can't stop it. I'll see you in there.
They push. They shove. He's in. Touchdown.
Let me talk my shit again.
What you do? This is the Talk My Shit Again podcast. I'm your humbly hostile host, Cassius Cliff. Before we get into this video and breaking down what it's going to be today, at 1 o'clock, a exhibition, a season finale preseason game. Please like, share, subscribe, as well as comment. It goes a long way. Thank you in advance. But as I just mentioned, this game means nothing. Not only are we locked in for the division winner at 13-3, 13-4, 14-3, doesn't matter. The number 2 seed is already locked up for us. And we would be playing for nothing besides honor, to shit on the Giants, and really for a record that is not going to be something that we're going to be talking about if we do not win this Lombardi. Make no mistake about it. The record is great. It is cool. It would be phenomenal for Saquon and his legacy. But risking injury, going against the Giants that have nothing to play for besides playing spoiler and playing the Grinch even after Christmas, it's just too much to risk at this point. Because with this Week 18 matchup against the Giants, where the injury report looks crazy, it's not that at all. Obviously, Jalen Hurts is still in concussion protocol, so he won't be out there. But virtually, if we needed everybody to play, I believe even if we needed Jalen to play, he'll be out there as well. And a lot of guys are doubtful purely because they're not going to probably be playing today. And that's the starters, namely. We're probably going to see a lot of backups, and really, that's the way it should be. Because maybe if these two plays, if we had them, one of the drops being by Saquon early in the season, and later when the second matchup against the Commanders by Smitty, if we had those 2 catches that led to victories, very likely, we probably will be fighting for number 1 seed, and these starters will probably be suiting up to where we can get that number 1 seed locked up, as well as get that record for Saquon. But you can't always get what you want. It's not always the case, and it's probably for the best, because the playoffs, again, are right around the corner. Can't afford to lose anybody at this point. So expect to see a lot of backups, and really backups for the duration of the game. And I think that's going to actually be good for this team. I think we're actually going to be able to see what players are going to be ready for the postseason if they have the stuff we have in depth on either side of the ball. We know what Kenny Pickett is and what he isn't. He's a backup, not a starter. And I feel like Tanner McKee has an opportunity not only to play his way into the number 2 backup role. Eventually, he might be able to leave and get a starter job. I mean, we've seen guys, have resurgence in their career like Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith, as well as Sam Darnold. Now, not to say that Tanner McKee's any of these guys, but when it comes down to playing the quarterback position, and I mean, we've seen Tanner McKee in a very small dose in a regular season game. 4 passes, 3 catches, like 52 yards and 2 touchdowns. Great stat line. Definitely not enough in terms of judging what a player could be, especially going against the Cowboys. They trash. So it's like, that's not really the best test to, find out what you got in the backup. But Tanner McKee, I feel like his best attributes, not only is he an accurate quarterback, more times than not, from what I've seen in the preseason tape and even in those touchdown passes that he threw, that one to AJ specifically, like you just saw on that back shoulder fade. I mean, the guy knows where to put the ball, and not only is the accuracy there, the anticipation is there. I feel like having a big arm as a quarterback pays huge dividends. You want to see that in your quarterback. But if you can't have that, you have to choose 2 out of 3 attributes: big arm, accuracy, and anticipation. Give me accuracy and anticipation 10 out of 10 times. Because without what's going to make up for that, having a big arm is being accurate and putting the ball, not putting it in harm's way. I feel like is the quarterback's main job, aside from throwing touchdown passes and managing the game. As long as you put it where your only receiver can get it and you're protecting the ball, you're doing your job as a quarterback. And I feel like Tanner McKee has all those qualities to be a solid backup, if, potentially a starter for a shitty team. We don't know what that shitty team might be if they come calling, or if he gets free and he gets the opportunity to go there. That's in the future, and we don't know what the future holds at this point. But I really feel like not only are we going to see a heavy dose of Tanner McKee, instead of Kenny Gainwell, who probably you see very little of, given the fact that we use him a lot as a backup. He's on kick return and all those things. Will Shipley, a guy who's been in and out of the lineup and who has had very few opportunities this season. I think this is going to be his biggest opportunity not only make a statement as, being a valuable running back in this league, but even possibly as a number 2 if Kenny Gainwell, ends up leaving sometime soon. And that was in the preseason game when you saw him on the screen pass. But I feel like this play specifically, that we actually saw what we can get in Will Shipley. And unfortunately for him, this was the end score. It was not 41-17. It was actually 34-17 because that touchdown run by Will Shipley did not count due to a holding penalty. And that shit happens, but ultimately, I still love the play because you got to see what you have in your rookie and a guy who's not afraid of contact, who has some vision and quickness, and he showed that on this play. It just doesn't stand because there was a penalty on it. And it's unfortunate, but you got to remember that if you see these things from a player and there's being the potential, look to see that in the actual regular season game, like today. And a guy that we should expect a lot from, or should have expected a lot from, given that we traded a 3rd-round pick for him, and he's had success in this league, and even made timely catches with very few opportunities. I mean, this is a guy with just 10 catches with 122 yards and 0 touchdowns in Jahan Dotson. And you think if you trade a 3rd-round pick for a guy like that, you would want to see a catch like that, which is huge, especially given this one as well. I mean, very few opportunities, but still making big-time catches. I believe he's, from my recollection, he's had only like 1 bad drop, given his very few opportunities. And it's clear what this offense is. Not only are we a run-first offense, if you're naming A.J. Smitty or Goddard and even sprinkling Calcaterra, you're probably not going to see the ball in the air. And that's fine because those guys are proven and those guys produce. They actually produce, numbers-wise, and really what they do translates to winning and winning plays. And Jahan Dotson, given his very few opportunities, we haven't really seen that, and I think we're going to see a healthy dose of that because not only is Jahan Dotson should be out there and, helping us shore up or really finding out who could be that really reliable number 3 receiver. Johnny Wilson, who has struggled, I feel like, running routes, catching the ball, understanding where to be in the zone. Even he has a touchdown before Jahan Dotson, and this is the 1 touchdown he has on the season. I mean, he's a guy that has, 2 catches for 14 yards and a touchdown, this being one of them. I mean, obviously, it's a great, scramble play or, extending the play by Jalen Hurts and finding Johnny Wilson on a really easy matchup. This is a guy that's like 6'4", over 200 pounds, going against Jordan Lewis, who is like maybe 5'9", and a $189. Like, very easy mismatch, and that should happen 9 out of 10 times. But Johnny Wilson obviously not having the opportunities and not being, I feel like the coaches as well as the quarterbacks don't trust him enough. Much like a Jahan Dotson. Jahan has been out there a lot and has very few targets and even less catches because the trust factor isn't there. And I feel like obviously when it comes to your quarterback and delivering the ball where it needs to go, you got to trust your pass catcher. And hopefully, Tanner McKee trusts these guys and we get to see like what they could actually offer. And then therefore Jalen might trust them going down the stretch on this playoff run because we might need them. A play here, a play there. We might need to target these guys and they need to make a timely catch. Hopefully we'll see some of those things today in the matchup against the Giants. Defensively, though, there's 2 guys I really want to see. One being a guy that's had very few opportunities, but has had, I feel like, a pretty big impact rushing down or even, pass down or rushing down. Ojamo, 7th-round pick just last year. I mean, it's a guy with very few opportunities, creates a lot of havoc on one-on-one matchups, creating pressures. And, again, this is a guy that's the 4th DT on the team. Jalen Carter, Milton Williams, Jordan Davis, those guys are freak of natures, and those guys have a lot of impact and play a lot. So we rarely see Ojamo, and even though we barely see him, when it's one-on-one, you see this guy get in the backfield. You see him get behind the line of scrimmage, and he either is laying the QB hit or he's right there creating pressure, and that's huge. Because if Jordan Davis or Milton Williams goes down, Jalen Carter, God forbid, I think we can rely on this guy, at least for a series or 2, letting these guys, wrap up their ankle, whatever the case may be, knocking on wood. Having a guy like this as your 4th DT that can create a lot of pressure, again, pays huge dividends for your depth and really understanding what you have behind your starters and behind your rotational pieces. Now, a guy who's actually started all season and has had a pretty good season as a rookie, Quinyon Mitchell, I feel like, especially given the last 2 weeks going against the Cowboys and the Commanders, letting up 2 touchdowns on one-on-one matchups, I feel like there's been maybe a little shot to his confidence in what he thinks he could do out there. And I need him to recapture that because not only has he had a pretty good season for a rookie, this is a guy that we're going to have to absolutely rely on down the playoff run. They're going to probably target him a lot, given how he's been scoring on the last 2 weeks. And I would want to see him out there purely because this is an opportunity for him to get that confidence back and really build on what we're going to be needing him to do in the playoffs. Because the playoffs it's one and done. You can't fuck around. You can't mess around and go in there without the right mindset and really understanding what your roles and responsibilities are. And I understand for Q, it's been a little tough sledding as a rookie, but I think this is a huge opportunity for him to just, clean up his play and really get that confidence back and really show that dog that he showed early on in the season, because Mike Williams is in the Hall of Fame. And going one-on-one against Mike Williams in the red zone and stopping him on a fade route is no easy task at all. I mean, he scores a lot on those touchdowns, and Q denied him pretty easily. So the fact that he was able to do that, and he can score on a guy like Jalen Tolbert, I mean, come on. Those guys are not even remotely in the same planet or even the same level. And I feel like this is just a great opportunity for Q to get back on the right track. And I think that's all it's going to take. That's all it's going to take. That's all it's going to be at this point. Going against the Giants in our stadium in Week 18, wearing the all-black jerseys, to me, feels like a crime. Because that's my second favorite colorway aside from the Kelly Green. And going against the Giants in the game that does not matter with mostly, if not all, backups, I mean, it's a little, I don't know, it's a little disappointing, I would say, because I would want to see that against like a viable matchup or against a good team in a game that actually mattered. But, at this point in time, the colorways and the jerseys are really a footnote compared to what we're really trying to go after and what's really important. Because the record is cool. A rushing record would have been great for Saquon and his legacy. But we have to understand, not only did this happen to Zay Flowers yesterday in a game that actually mattered, him going down is very unfortunate. I hope he gets back healthy soon. But this is AJ last year. And sure, this game mattered in terms of winning the division. But we were already locked into the playoffs. And I think everybody, if it wasn't made clear this year or even before AJ was here, what this team with AJ and what this team without AJ Brown. I mean, you're talking about night and day in terms of the offense. And really and truly, when it comes down to AJ and Jalen Hurts on the field this season, we have yet to lose a game. The one game where AJ was on the field and we lost, Jalen Hurts left that game early. So it's like, why would we mess around and gamble with our playoff lives? Because as 13-3, we sit right now, we're locked into the 2 seed. The division's already sewn up. We're playing for nothing. And it was asked earlier last year, before the season started. People ask always, like, what do you think your predictions are for the season? As you see right there, I say 14-3, if not 13-4. Here we are sitting at between one of those two options, and y'all saw earlier in those 2 screenshots of Smitty and Saquon. Essentially, with those 2 catches, we probably could have been 15-1. Ultimately, we're not going to harp on those things. But since the Philadelphia Eagles have gone to the Super Bowl and gotten 13 wins, we've never missed a Super Bowl getting 13 wins. 2004, 2017, 2022, with at least 13 wins has resulted in a Super Bowl victory and 2 Super Bowl appearances. So 3 appearances, 1 victory. That's what happens when we get 13 wins on a minimum. We are at 13-3 right now. Why would we gamble with that? I understand you want to have continuity. I understand you want to get the record for Saquon. Those things are good. But I believe a lot of people would not sit around and sit here and say, if we don't win the Super Bowl, at least Saquon got the rushing record. Who the fuck cares about that? It is, again, it's great. But we did not go into the season expecting to get the rushing record. We expected to make a long playoff run and get the Super Bowl at the end of it all. That's what this team has been built for, and that's what we're focused on. The rushing record would have been great along the line, along the way to attain and get. But let's not be confused here. What's really important and what would be at risk if we were to play starters today in a game that meant nothing, where I firmly believe it would have been poetic to do it against the Giants, a team that let him go for a player that is not even there on the roster anymore. That would have been great for storylines and all of that. But I would firmly believe the Giants will be selling out to stop Saquon. They'll let AJ and Spinney get 300 apiece if it comes down to stopping Saquon from getting this record against them. I firmly believe that. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and watch this preseason game shortly, going against the Giants at the link. And this will remain, as Jordan Mailata eloquently said, I'm going to talk my shit, because it's the Talk My Shit Again podcast. I'm your humbly hostile host, Cassius Cliff. We out to the next one. Peace.